All right, so what's going on, guys? So in light of the tragic news yesterday, I just had to go back and read some of the Berserk manga. I just couldn't help myself. I had to immerse myself in the story again, gaze at those perfect panels, and just enjoy myself a little bit. Try to take the edge off a little bit from, the fact that the story is somewhat over, and it's not... We're not going to get the conclusion that we wanted. And what I started doing was I started taking screenshots of all my favorite panels. And I wanted to take screenshots of my 10 favorite panels. But it eventually became 15 and 20 and 25. And I got 32 panels that are quote-unquote my favorite of the manga. I mean, you could literally pick 100, 200 panels, but, to kind of condense it to a video format, I picked 32 that are my absolute favorite panels of the Berserk manga, and I just wanted to share them with you guys and just go over them and just give everyone a chance to marvel at them once again. So here we go. So first one we got here is from the Black Swordsman arc. We got Guts holding the deceased woman's head. And what I love about this one is the fact that Guts' face is just covered in shadows. You could just see he's enveloped by the darkness. The way the shadows are coming off his body, the sun is behind him. So it's like he's turning away from the light, away from salvation. He's immersing himself in the darkness, in the depths of hell, if you will. And his face, like just the malaise on it, the fact that she's dead and, she's got this look of dread on her face, and he just doesn't have a care in the world. It's almost like this is a waste of time for him. He doesn't have anything to say. So brilliant panel here. Next one we got is the first appearance of Nosferatu Zod. Just an absolutely gorgeous panel. This was the first time in the Golden Age arc that we saw mythological creatures. Now, of course, we read the Black Swordsman arc, we saw the God Hand members, we saw the Count, we saw Zondark. But this was the first time in Guts' life that he saw a creature like this. And it was just absolutely terrifying. It was like, where the heck are these creatures coming from? Why do they exist? And if they do exist, what are humans going to do to combat them? Like, I mean, what are you going to do to stop a creature like this? So this was sort of the introduction of demon-like creatures in the Berserk pantheon. And wow, what an introduction. Just absolutely beautiful manga panel. Next one, I actually made an analysis video about this in my Berserk video about trees. And I just love this panel because this is the coming of consciousness for Guts. He's leaving the circular town of Windham and leaving the unconscious, if you will, and he's venturing off into the world, venturing off to grow his own consciousness, to grow himself, to become a more complete person. And who's stopping him? It's Griffith. Because Griffith exerts control over Guts. Griffith is his master. And he doesn't want to yield to Guts. He doesn't want to allow him to grow. He wants him to remain in his stable, if you will. He wants to control him. And it's very pivotal as well, because look how Guts' sword is pointing upwards towards the top of the tree, towards the sun, towards the levels of consciousness, whereas Griffith's sword is pointing downward. It's pointing towards the base of the Tower of Rebirth, which is where he's going to go. He's going to go to the depths of hell to be reborn as Femto. Next one here, we got Guts and Koska. First time that they make love to each other. And I love this panel because the facial expressions. And if you actually go back to the panel before this, Koska's talking about how, she became Griffith's sword, and she thought that was her purpose in life, her raison d'etre, and it wasn't, because when Guts beat Griffith in that battle, and Griffith is just sitting there holding his hand and in need of comfort and some sort of moral boost, she can't help but look at Guts. She's staring at him the entire time. So it's almost sort of an affirmation that maybe her life's purpose is not being Griffith's sword. And, she was trying to use her pride to cover up the fact that maybe her life was false. Maybe her life wasn't what she thought it was. And maybe her feelings were directing her somewhere else. And now we see it right here. And, the fact that they're both naked, the fact that they're basically unshielding themselves, becoming vulnerable to each other. This is a first time for Guts as well. Like, he's never made himself vulnerable to other people. The only person he made himself vulnerable to was Gambino, and we saw how that ended. He took money from Donovan and ended up getting raped because of it. And it's kind of symbolic in a way as well, because this happens in the next chapter where Guts starts having visions of Gambino rape, or Donovan raping him, and the 2 times in his life that he made himself vulnerable, the one time to Gambino, he ended up getting traumatized and became the cynical person that he was up until this point. And now the second time being with Koska, and he's sort of becoming a more caring person, becoming more aware of the world and of people around him, and becoming more welcoming to friendships. But it wasn't an easy road, because as we know, after this, he started choking Koska. He still couldn't let go of the past. So a very pivotal scene and a very beautiful manga panel. So Zod and Skull Knight fighting one another. Now, I made a manga video analysis, diving deep into whether or not Zod and Skull Knight were at one time the same person. My speculative hypothesis was that Geyserik was in fact Skull Knight and Zod, with Skull Knight being like the ego, being the rational side, and Zod being the irrational side, being the beast within. And then when he donned the Berserker armor, Zod became Skull Knight's beast of darkness, if you will. And Flora was the one who sort of helped make that split tangible. Instead of just being this split personality, if you will, she, tore it asunder, and Skull Knight became this this soul living in the Skull Knight armor, and Zod was the beast of darkness, who retained the human form. Hence the reason he could become an apostle and turn back into a human. And I was thinking, if Guts wasn't careful, his own beast of darkness would do that to him as well, and Shirka would play the role of tearing that asunder as well, separating Guts from his physical body, putting him into some sort of suit of armor, and, the dog-like demonic beast within would take hold of his physical body. Unfortunately, we're never really going to know whether or not that comes to fruition. But, I just felt like, you go watch the video if you haven't seen it before, but I just felt like all the clues in the manga really point towards that. And the fact that, the way this image is oriented, Skull Knight going towards his beast of darkness, and the fact that Zod says, you've been our enemy for over 1,000 years, and he recognizes the Berserker armor later on at Flora's house, really points to the fact that they've known each other for at least 1,000 years. And the fact that he knows the Berserker armor, and he says, memories, my old rival, really sort of says to me that, they were one and the same at one point. Another brilliant panel here. I love this one. This is when Griffith is descending into the astral realm, going deeper and deeper into the layers, and he finally reaches the core where the idea of evil or God is. And I love this because look at how the backside of his body is just peeling away, how it's just sort of disintegrating, and you see all these dead bodies protruding from it, and just a brilliant panel here. Just absolutely love this one. Another great one. Just so much emotion in this. Look at Guts' face, the anger, the rage, the vitriol, all the blood splattering from his body, the pain he's causing as he pierces the horn through the apostle. And what an apostle at that. I mean, Miura just has such a talent for drawing apostles just in grotesque ways, but also in beautiful ways too. I mean, this apostle looks very... It looks very gorgeous, but at the same time very disgusting, and that's the point. Just absolutely fantastic. I don't know why they're out of order here, but this one's The Count from the Black Swordsman arc. And this one, if you've read the Dune novels from Frank Herbert, this reminds me a lot of Leto II from the fourth book. His body starts transforming into this godlike, worm-like thing, monster, if you will. And it reminds me a lot of the Count here. And the Black Swordsman arc obviously happened prior to Golden Age and all the other arcs. So the artwork is... I would say the artwork wasn't as refined as it would be in the later volumes. That being said, you can still find some gems, and it's a different style from the rest of the manga as well. It's got more of this 80s/90s aesthetic to it, especially in the character designs. Like if you look at Guts from the Black Swordsman arc to Golden Age to, Falcon of the Millennium Empire to Fantasia, there's some pretty stark differences. And you can kind of tell his artwork changed with the times. But, I think he hits his peak in the Falcon of the Millennium Empire, but there's still some gems in the Black Swordsman arc as well, this one being an example. So now we're jumping forward to the Lost Children's chapters, and I just absolutely love this one because you got all these demonic beasts behind Guts, all these spirits, and it's like they're absolutely horrifying, and yet Guts looks the most horrifying of them all. He's absolutely shrouded in darkness, and it just looks like he's emanating evil. And even at one point prior to this, Jill mentions how he looks like a demon, how she isn't sure who's more evil. And it just kind of shows how how warped Guts' worldview is after the eclipse, how he just has abandoned all sense of hope and has embraced the darkness within. So absolutely brilliant panel. This one with Guts tossing Mosgus over the ledge here at the Tower of Conviction. Just brilliant. I love the flames coming from Mosgus's body, the feathers, the grit in Guts' face, even little details like the tower, like where his foot is, just, him pushing down on it and just causing all this devastation, and Mosgus's fear and trepidation right now, just another good one. This was when Guts and Koska were traveling alone together, and this is such a nice symbolic piece where you see Koska and she's surrounded by demons, and most of them are phallic in appearance as well, symbolizing the rape. And you got the eclipse in the background, and just how I love the fact that her eyes are closed, because it's like after the events of the eclipse, she's closed her eyes to the world. She's essentially become this different person. She's taken her consciousness and just closed it off and has become this unconscious being, this unconscious adolescent. So yeah, just another great one. This one is really nice. Just like I would be like, how many hours did Miura spend drawing this specific panel? Like, you could say that about hundreds of panels for Berserk, but this one in particular, just look at how many monsters and corpses. It's just the detail, and it's just incredible. I mean, this was inside the troll cave when Koska and Farnese got captured, and just an amazing panel here. I mean, just all the different monsters and demonic beasts. It's just incredible. This was the first time that Grunbeld transformed into his apostle form, and I just absolutely love this. Just look at his size, the stature, the strength, the power. Guts is in his berserker armor for the first time as well, but yet he never shows fear. He's always going into battle, no matter how bad the odds. He just goes in full force, grits his teeth, and he just fucking goes for it. Now, all the panels up until this point have been very demonic and sad and somber, but this one's, every once in a while you get a panel in Berserk that just puts a smile on your face. And I think that's the great part about Berserk, is that it's overly this dark manga, but every once in a while Miura injected some happiness, injected some hope, and goddamn if it didn't put a smile on your face. It was like, after all this tumultuous activity, it's just so nice to have just this little breather, just this little sign of, hey, it's gonna be okay, despite all the bad things, these characters, they're still gonna have a little bit of bliss in their life. So I just love this one. This one's when Zod and Guts are fighting Ganishka, and holy shit, I mean, do I even really need to talk about this one? Like the lightning and, just Guts and Zod. Miura excels at drawing Zod. I mean, I just love every panel that Zod is in. Just the attention to detail, and you can really see the evolution in his drawing style as well, because that previous panel where we were first introduced to Zod, the level of detail wasn't quite there yet. But you can really see it in this one and future panels as well. Like, holy shit, like this guy, he really took his time and he really evolved his game. Like, he really put in the work to make sure that these panels came off as good as they could come off. This one's Ganishka when he becomes Shiva, and he goes inside Daiba's little. It was almost like a behelit. It was they merged all these apostles together, and Ganishka went inside, and he became Shiva. He became the most demonic being anyone has ever seen, short of the God Hand. But, usually if you see the God Hand, you don't live for much longer. What I love about this one is the fact that you can see Windham at the very bottom right corner here. You can see the buildings, but look at how tiny they are compared to Ganishka. Just the size of him. To put it into context, if you dropped him in the modern world, he'd probably be the size of like skyscrapers, if not taller. Just absolutely massive and horrifying and terrifying. Just great stuff. And here's one of the panels as they're looking up at Ganishka. And this is a great panel in and of itself because, you got Grunbeld, you got Zod again, you got Griffith, you got all these different apostles, Griffith's demon army. So great stuff once again. Again, another fantastic panel with Zod in it. And I just love this, how Griffith is standing on top of Zod. And just look at his feet, how, like, he's not making a big impression in Zod's fur. Like, it almost looks like he's floating on top of Zod. His body is so frail and so tiny compared to Guts. Koska makes a note of it prior to the eclipse, like, his hands are so small, and yet he tried to grab the entire world with these hands. But it's just Griffith's willpower, and it sort of speaks to the fact that it doesn't matter what hand you're dealt in life. Even though Griffith has a relatively frail body, even though he's not a muscular guy like Guts, you just have to know how to maneuver yourself, accentuate your own skills, your own talents, and you can accomplish anything. And look at him right here. He's about to defeat Ganishka and build his own kingdom. So wow, just look at this panel. I mean, just absolutely brilliant. Again, I don't think I really need to say much here. Just Skull Knight looking like an absolute Chad. The Sword of Actuation, Zod once again, and Femto. Look at this thing. Again, how many hours did Miura spend on this panel? It just must have been, hundreds, thousands maybe. Just holy cow. Just, there's just no words, Eventually you run out of words. This one right here with Guts chomping down on the sea creatures, losing control of himself in the Berserker armor. Fantastic stuff once again. I love this one with Farnese and Shirka in their luminous bodies. And this was when Farnese was really gaining confidence in herself, really starting to come into her own as a character. Prior to this, she was so meek and so reserved and unsure of herself. She didn't know what she wanted to do. She became the leader of the Holy Iron Chain Knights, not so much for herself, but because she was kind of pushed into it by her father. And, she was kind of trying to cover up for herself. She was this demon child, and she wanted to sort of forget the past and forget her own desires, but that wasn't her. And becoming a magician, a mage, has sort of allowed her to bring out some more of herself, some more of her own desires, and become a more complete person like Guts. So just another great panel. This one's inside of the Sea God, and Jesus Christ, this is just... what do you even say? Miura does it again. Oh my gosh. I've probably stared at this panel hundreds of times. Just unbelievable work. Just unbelievable. This one was when he defeated the Sea God and he's being pulled out by the mermaids. Now, this one's very symbolic. It's probably not the best manga panel in terms of drawing skill. There are much better ones than this, but in terms of symbolism, it's right up there. It's probably one of the best. It's Guts' second rebirth, if you will. Jesus goes down below the water, he's baptized, and he's reborn again. This is Guts' second rebirth. He's sort of letting go of his past self. He's sort of becoming a more empathetic character. He's relying on his companions more, and he's becoming a different person. And you can kind of tell it's a second rebirth because he's being pulled out by women, and women up until this point have sort of been disregarded in his life. And now it's the second rebirth. This is almost like they're pulling him out of, it sort of almost looks like a birth canal, if you will. And, they're pulling him out, and it's just absolutely brilliant. I made a video about this, Berserk, the boat analysis, and I delve more into this in the video, so you could take a look if you haven't seen it before. Another brilliant one, this is when they get on Elfhelm, and they're fighting the creature that Morda brought to life, a scarecrow monster. So very nice once again. This is Danin, the Flower Storm Monarch, and in terms of character designs, wow, just absolutely brilliant once again. And this one was when Farnese and Shirka were inside Koska's mind, and they were going through all the memories, reconstructing the doll, which was representing Koska's consciousness. And I just love this one right here. Wow, it represents the repressed memories of Koska. It represents what she's pushing down, what she's trying to hide and ignore and forget about. But, unfortunately, you don't forget about the past. It lives within you. And, if it's not confronted, if it's not dealt with in a suitable fashion, it has consequences, as we, saw with Koska. She became an adolescent. So just look at how ominous this looks. Oh man, just great stuff once again. And this was a symbolic representation of Koska during the eclipse when she got raped by Femto. And it just how it shattered her psyche, and left her just broken as a person. So just love it once again. And again, so we have all these dark, somber moments, but then in between that, you get these happy moments. And I just love this panel because it's just so hard to explain. Like, every time I see it, it brings a tear to my eye. Like, it makes me feel like all the hard work Guts has put in protecting her was not for waste. Like, it meant something to Koska, and she still loves him deep down, and you could just see it right here. And it's such a beautiful panel. And for the manga readers, it's like, how many chapters did we go through? What was it? She lost her mind around chapter 87, 88, I want to say. And then this is chapter 357. So 270 chapters. And we finally get to see Koska back to her normal self once again. So, it was like, holy cow. I mean, she's back. And, man, it was such a long journey, but it's so awesome to just see it come full circle once again. And I don't even think I need to talk about this panel. I mean, holy cow. Look at how majestic and how stoic Griffith looks. I mean, Jesus Christ. It looks like something on the Sistine Chapel. I mean, it's just like, holy cow. Like, damn, Miura. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, you just have to look at it and stare at it. It's just so beautiful. And then we're going to come full circle once again, starting with the very first panel of the Berserk manga, when Guts is having sex with the female apostle. And, it's a nice little contrast, like I was talking about earlier. Look at how, Guts' face and, just the apostles as well, they're not as refined as they would be in the later arcs, but they got their own little unique look to them here. And I just love the fact that even though this apostle looks menacing, looks horrifying, look at how evil Guts looks as well. I mean, look at how his eye is darkened. Look at his teeth. Like, look at his spiky hair. I mean, he looks just as horrifying as his apostle. So, man, it's just, these panels are they're such a marvel to look at. And, man, I'm going to miss it. I mean, Miura was such a talented artist, and it pains me that we're not getting any more panels. It pains me that we're not getting any more story, but, like everyone else is saying online, don't be sad that he died. Be happy that, I'm butchering the quote. Be happy that it happened. Be happy that we got what we got. So, again, I'll echo the sentiment from yesterday. Thank you, Kentaro Miura. Rest in peace, and catch you guys on the flip side.